Is your business pootling along instead of firing on all cylinders? Are you feeling overwhelmed, stressed, and frustrated? Do your dreams of financial freedom feel a long way off? Then this is the podcast for you. Little Voice, Big Business with your host, Nadia.
Hello and welcome to Little Voice Big Business with me, Nadia. Today's episode is all about starting up. It's inspired by a friend of mine who has had an awesome idea for a new business but has done nothing with it as yet. And I really feel that it's a super shame that she hasn't kind of taken action and started to explore her idea and see if it's got legs, so to speak. And it got me to thinking that there must be lots of people out there with ideas that will remain just that unless action is taken, unless we take the first step towards realising these dreams. And I know that sometimes having an idea, we start to think, and I know sometimes that the prospect of implementing an idea and getting a business started can feel like the most insurmountable challenge, like a huge mountain that we need to climb, and that it can be overwhelming and off-putting, and then everything within us is screaming, don't bother, stay safe, stay on the sofa, don't do it, it's too hard, you'll never make it, you might fall, it won't work, people are gonna laugh at you, all of those things. And so what do? We do nothing. And, I'm not going to say that the future of the global economy depends on us, but it kind of does. I mean, it's up to us to innovate and be constantly challenging the way things are, and to see if our ideas and our businesses can change the way that we live and help other people. And it makes me really sad to think that we are held back by our fears and not knowing where to start, and that's going to also prevent us from living a better life. I know I was joking previously about the joys of working from home and, that it gets a bit lonely and all of that, but working for yourself, there are so many advantages. You can create the kind of life you dream of. There's no limit on the kind of income that you can earn. It's up to you. You're the master of your own, the mistress, shall we say, of your own destiny.
To infinity and beyond!
So I urge you, if you have an idea, not to sit on it, not to stay snuggled up on the sofa with your idea, but to make it happen. The question is where to start. If there's anything I can do for you to help you make your idea into a reality, it's maybe this, to give you a kind of plan, a blueprint if you like, a set of steps to follow that will just get the ball rolling.
Let's start at the very beginning, a very good place to start.
So I've created a little freebie guide called Sofa to Startup, and it's available on my website, nadiafiner.com, and it's free. And essentially it sets out the first 3 weeks of starting a business.
The first 3 notes just happen to be do, re, mi. Do, re, mi.
Now, you don't necessarily need to be right at the beginning. You may have hit an impasse, you may be stuck, but what this will do is help you get moving again. And it's been divided up into small tasks that you can do over the course of 21 days to get your business rocking and rolling. I just want to start by looking at some of the things featured within the guide. You can download it later, so Don't leave me now. Don't leave me hanging. I'm going to go through a couple of the things that are in there because I think it will help you realise that actually it doesn't need to be so complicated. The first week I suggest of getting your startup started should be all about the groundwork. I call it get it together. It's all about getting clear and focused on what you want to accomplish. Trying to do too many things at once is going to overcomplicate matters, but if we set ourselves a smallish goal, then it's perfectly doable. So I'm going to encourage you to work out what your dream is, where you want to get to, and how you're going to make money.
Money makes the world go around, the world go around, the world go around. Money makes the world go around, it makes the world go round.
That's really important, seeing as this is a business and not a hobby. We need to get clear on what you're going to be doing to make money. What is the actual activity that you're going to do? What will people pay you for? What product are you going to sell? It sounds obvious, but unless we get really clear at this stage, it's going to take you a lot longer to create an income from your business. I've actually run a business like this where I kept it loose and I thought, there'll be so many ways I could potentially make money from this. But it was such a long journey, it was a really long slog, and I would have been a lot better off getting clear from the beginning on where the money was going to come from than hoping it would somehow all fall into place. Let's say that's day 1 and day 2 covered. Then on day 3, I want you to go out and meet some people. Not just any people, but I want you to go out and chat to some of your potential clients. It could be online or in person. And you don't need to necessarily do a survey or employ some kind of market research agency. Instead, just chat to them over the phone. On Facebook, or go for a cup of tea with them and find out what's going on for them. What do they need? What's bothering them? And what do they really, really want? Ask them questions, lots of questions, and listen to the answers. It's amazing how we can have a preconceived idea of where we want things to go, and then we're actually ignoring the truth, which is perhaps being told to us loud and clearly, and we've kind of got our fingers in our ears going, la 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 la. And we definitely need to listen to what people are saying. Really figure out what your people want and what they need before we go any further. It's also amazingly important early on to figure out what your special sauce is. What is it that's going to make you stand out from the crowd and different from everybody else? I know that we can suffer sometimes from comparisonitis. Is that a word? Where we look and go, she's done it so much better. She's better than me, or she's already doing it. Why would I bother? Well, the world is a big place. There's a lot of people. There's plenty of space for everybody. And as long as we get clear on what makes us different from the beginning, it's going to be easier for you to get noticed. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you need to do something completely different. There's a lot of cafes out there, for example. It's just that your cafe needs to be different to the cafe next door. And it may not be anything that obvious. It may be the way you do things and that you've put yourself into it. You've injected your personality into what you're doing. So your business doesn't need to be a completely new concept. It just needs to be executed in a way that's unique to you. Next up, let's think about how much you're going to charge. And we've talked about pricing in a previous episode. So I want you to talk to your people, look at the competition, and understand the value that you're delivering. And set your pricing. It's really difficult, I know, and there's lots of different methods you could use, so listen to my pricing episode, but set your pricing appropriately from the beginning. That's a really sensible thing to do. Oh yes, and just because you're the new kid on the block, doesn't mean you're cheap. No way. So know your worth, okay? Don't go in too low. Okay, the final thing to do in the first few days is make a plan. What's your goal? What would be realistic in the next 90 days for you to achieve in your new business? Is it literally to get set up and get your first 3 clients? Like, what do you want to do? What do you want to get to? Do you want to produce 100 of your products? Do you want to make your first £5,000 or dollars? Be realistic and set yourself a goal. Then once I have a goal, I work out the key 3 things I need to do to get there. Don't overwhelm yourself with a huge to-do list at this point. Simply think logically about the 3 key things you need to do to achieve your goal. If it's to get your first 3 clients, what do you need to get there? You need to have a presence online. You need to start meeting people face to face. And potentially you need to raise your profile online as well through social networks, for example, Periscope or video. Those 3 elements, you can then work out precisely what you need to do to achieve those things. So therefore your list is really structured.
Okay.
So now, week 2. We've put these foundations in place in the first week. What are we going to do in the second week? Well, the second week is all about getting set up. You've designed your dream business now, and you've kind of mapped out how you're going to get there. But now it's about really defining your brand and putting yourself out there. But the first thing we're going to do before we start building and getting bogged down in tech is building anticipation rather than our website just yet. Anticipation is something that we can start creating from very early on. It doesn't involve technology particularly. It just involves you having the courage to put yourself out there from early on. And what I mean by this is I want you to start telling people what you're doing. The fun part is often creating our business, coming up with ideas, and then the scary part is putting ourselves out there. I want us to get into the habit of talking to people and telling them what we're doing really early on. You don't need a full-blown website at this point. You don't need business cards yet. You don't need anything fancy. All you need to do is open your mouth and tell people what you're doing. I want you to talk to your friends and your family and start telling people. Start spreading the word and telling people, hey guys, I'm working on this great idea. It's coming soon. You can do a countdown. You can tell people that you've got a surprise, that it's in the workshop and that you're building it now, that kind of thing. Get them excited and really start ramping up the enthusiasm and anticipation before you even launch. Okay, I want to talk about branding. I'm not talking about colours at this point. Often we leap into choosing colours, getting a logo, and we will need to do that, but something really important is about, but before all that, branding comes down to the feeling that you want to create, the vibe. What emotions do you want people to have when they interact with you and your brand, you and your business? Are you sophisticated? Or are you edgy? Are you reliable? Are you fun? Are you a little bit crazy? What kind of emotions do you want to evoke? Have a think about that, and we'll use this information to inform the branding of your business. I'm sure you can think of different brands that have a different vibe. So for example, my Apple laptop makes me feel a certain way. Very different to my Hewlett-Packard. It's a different vibe. Think of the brands that make you feel a certain way, and why is that? And then compare and contrast them with a competitor and how they make you feel. Often the only thing that separates two brands is this vibe, and you're more drawn to one than the other. So as a business owner, it's up to you to create a feeling for your people, and it's going to help you attract your ideal clients. Okay, once you've got the vibe, only then can you go on to create this kind of look and feel for your brand. Branding is about consistency. It's about creating a look that's easily identifiable. So whether you're posting on social media, creating an ebook, producing a website or some packaging for your products, there's a certain look you'll be able to almost instantly identify and associate that with your business. Nivea, I used to work for Nivea, and they're amazing at branding. You can tell a Nivea ad before, well, you know it's Nivea within the first few seconds, just almost by the lighting and the colours. It's instantly identifiable. How can you create that look for your brand? Creating a logo is almost the last thing you do. You don't just randomly choose a logo. It's informed by the vibe you want to create and this idea of consistency. And it all has to fit together, which is why I think we often jump too soon into getting a logo created. We're well into week 2 now of our 3 weeks, and I want you to get started on a website. A website is the place where your people want to hang out. They want to have their contact. They want to get in touch with you. It's going to give a great first impression of you and your business. I use WordPress. I didn't like it at first. I think if you're scared of WordPress and you don't know how to use it, try something like Squarespace, which looks amazing and is a lot easier in some ways. Your website doesn't need to be fancy. It doesn't need to have 300 pages at this point. It can be really basic. You could even go to LaunchRock and have a 1-page free site set up in about 10 minutes that announces that you're coming soon. It does not need to stop the launch of your business in its tracks. It doesn't need to be perfect, it just needs to have some really basic stuff on there to get you started. What do you do, why do you do it, and who do you do it for? And a means of contacting you. I'm going to talk more about websites another episode, but I just wanted to say that sometimes websites hold us back from launching, and I never want that to happen to you. Even if you get a 1-pager out there, it's absolutely fine and people will understand, and then you can develop your site as you go along. So that takes us a few days into the process of starting a business. There's a few things to think about, and I've laid out the rest within the document called Sofa to Startup, which you can download on my website. It's absolutely free and it gives you a step-by-step guide to starting your business. And like I said, the reason I've created this guide is because I want you to actually make your ideas happen and not get stuck, not feel overwhelmed, not feel like it's too difficult and you're not going to get started. Starting a business is hard, but the beginning needn't be. So if you're thinking of starting a business but you're not sure where to start, you can just follow my guide step by step, day by day. No more dithering, no more doubts, no more getting stuck before you've even got started, and I hope it helps you to make it happen. I really look forward to hearing about your businesses and seeing the fruits of your labour. So don't forget to post them in my Facebook group, Little Voice, Big Business, and I look forward to talking to you soon. Bye bye.
Little Voice, Big Business.